you'll hear me. So we're going to start with our presentation on food safety and handling during the pandemic. So a lot of people, I know we're seeing a lot of information about how this virus spreads and how to keep ourselves safe when we're shopping for food, when we're getting takeout for food, and how we should be washing and taking care of those things when we get them. Exactly, 6 feet apart. That's important, Alan. Thank you. So this is more a presentation on some of the information that I found and Valerie found from valid sources, reliable sources from the Food and Drug Administration and from the Center for Disease Control and from the World Health Organization, resources like that, so that we could show you what we found and do that research for you so that you know how to stay safe when you're out shopping and getting your food. So just a disclaimer, we are not experts on this topic. I had a question if this was a certificate program. It is not, but it is just to share information on what we've learned on how to stay safe while you're, and getting that food for thought, right?
So you're telling us that protects you from what? From lawyers?
Yeah, we're protecting ourselves here. So how does the coronavirus spread? Anybody know?
How does the coronavirus spread?
Like droplets in the air.
Talk to people.
Perfect. That's perfect. You guys are both right. So
It's true.
the virus spreads from person to person by inhaling droplets through coughing,
And
sneezing, or when it hangs around in the air like a very fine mist that you can't even see, right? So those droplets are coming from your lungs where the coronavirus kind of sits, right? So that's very good. I'm glad you guys know that. It's important to know so that we can take those precautions to make sure we're doing everything we can to protect ourselves.
It will gradually go away.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, but
It takes a while, yeah.
Next year will be a new virus.
Well, we're hoping not, but
We're gonna get this one in the butt.
yeah.
Yes, sir. You don't know who back in these?
No, I do not. But that's definitely something we can talk about for sure, because it's important to learn about viruses and foodborne illnesses, which we're going to talk about today. So thank you, JP. But can the virus spread through food?
Yes.
Yes, you guys think so? Interestingly, there's good news. Experts don't think the coronavirus spreads through food.
Really?
So, yes,
Oh
according
my gosh.
to
But I was
I
thinking
can't
about
believe that.
contamination.
exactly, that's right. So according to the FDA, the virus that causes the coronavirus doesn't grow on food, but it can live on surfaces. So, depending on the type of surface, it can live on it for several hours to a few days. So that's the way that it can come home with you from the store.
But if it's on food, will we be able to see it like fungus and mold?
That is a different type of food handling issue, right? Is making sure that you store your food properly so that it doesn't mold and making sure that you are discarding or throwing away those things when it goes bad, right? So how long does the virus last on surfaces? It really does depend. So scientists have found that it can last on cardboard for 24 hours, on plastic for 2 to 3 days, and on surfaces like stainless steel for 2 to 3 days too.
That's a
So
Friday
throw those pizza boxes out right away.
Throw them away.
amen.
That's why they get rid of the cardboard boxes in hospitals right away too.
Mhm.
You know, some people who don't have many friends spend Friday night trying to figure out how to explain things.
Exactly. So what are some ways you might come into contact with the coronavirus in the store?
Sneeze.
What do you guys think, my Zoom team?
Jeff, David, Yvette,
What?
how do you
Would you
think,
repeat?
what are some ways you might come into contact with the virus in a store?
By being too near those really loud, annoying kids that are screaming.
That's very detailed.
And droplets are coming out of their mouth.
You know, the ones that are like, but really, really
Anyone
loud.
else? Touching things in the store, right? Exactly.
Sneezing to people.
Exactly. So touching things like
You
the
have to
door
have-
handle,
You have to have a mask.
holding the grocery cart handle, grabbing things off the shelf, or even bagging your food. So that's why it's so important to sanitize and wash your hands. Wear gloves.
Alcohol and paper towels to wipe the carts. I won't touch them unless I pre-wipe.
Yes, that's great. That's a great idea. So bringing wipes with you so that you can wipe down the things that you touch when you're in the store, right?
Yeah, you don't want to touch anything at
Don't
all.
want to touch anything now. So what are some ways we can reduce our risk? Well, we can do
Don't touch nothing.
things like shop less often and only buy what you need.
Don't
So
touch
instead,
nothing.
sorry?
Don't touch nothing.
Don't touch nothing. Well, I
It's
wish
true.
we could do that, but sometimes that's not realistic, right? We have to look at things, grab things, and
I think
I
we can
don't.
always order food in,
yeah, we
or
will,
do groceries.
absolutely, we'll talk about that in our presentation too.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you're thinking about this. But yes, you can shop less often so you get what you need. So only buying like 2 weeks worth of food at a time so that you don't have to go to the store as often. Like Linda said, there are other ways to get groceries. So you can get them.
Online.
Yes, you can get them
Yeah,
online,
Online.
get groceries delivered.
Yeah.
That curbside pickup where people shop for you and then you just pick it up. Or you can have friends or family
Take
shop
it
for
from your
you.
neighbor.
Take them from your neighbor, JP said.
Raise garden.
Not recommended by MBIA, but sure. Or you can shop early, right? We can take advantage of those specialized shopping times that a lot of stores have for older adults, seniors, and persons with disabilities. That is like 8 to 9 or 7 to 8 a.m. when less people are in the store so that it's safer for you guys, right? And the general, stay 6 feet away from others. I don't know how many times you guys have heard that.
That's
So,
true.
right?
Alright.
Yeah.
Stay 6 feet away. Social distancing, so important.
Or more longer.
Or more longer.
Yes, exactly. So
I recommend you.
we can also.
10
I
feet.
think we lost Jeff.
Longer.
10 feet.
That's good, that's some good English there.
I find most stores are doing that, like if you go to Sears, or
Yeah.
whatever it is at Polo Park again, minute you walk in, you've got a table set up and the sanitizer there.
Yes.
If you go into certain stores like, what is that thing again? Dollarama, they have a table too, and they have a big gallon thing that you can, it'll put stuff on. So they are implementing that they're watching and they're telling you should come and go.
Yes, and so there are you'll see in stores, you'll see directions, you'll see the social distancing like tapes measuring out how far 6 feet is to help you out. You'll see hand sanitizer, maybe some wipes.
Yes.
A lot of places are requiring masks now, like Walmart.
Yeah.
So you have to
And
make sure that you've got a mask. Costco is another one. So more on safe shopping, you can pack your own items or bring your own reusable bag. Just make sure to clean it before and after, right? You can prepare a shopping list so that your shopping goes a lot faster. So you can kind of organize which aisle you'll be going and make sure that you get that item and head on to your next thing very quickly. And make sure to avoid touching your face, because when you're touching things and touching your face, that's one of the ways that it can be spread to you.
Oh, online too.
Online.
Yeah, you
No,
can shop online.
Yeah, you can shop online for
It's
sure.
more safer.
But people aren't used to having a mask on, and that's why they're always touching.
It's
It's
true.
not habit, it's like,
Just tell it, the
we
banana
have to
is
do
good,
it
it's
again.
something.
Yes, we're all adjusting to all these new rules for us, right?
Mhm.
Another thing, oh, we were talking
Shop
about
online,
touching your face, just to avoid that.
Yeah.
But one thing we can also do is use contactless payments, so that means using a card and tapping it. So that's another
I
way
do
we can
always.
reduce our risk, So, this is something Robert brought up. Do you think we should avoid touching things that other people have touched?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh yeah. Not sometimes, all the time.
Unfortunately, that's not realistic, right? But it's good that you bring that up because we can talk about ways to minimize that risk, right?
Just
So-
look and don't touch.
Don't touch, just look, don't touch.
Yeah, true.
So what we can do is transfer food to clean containers and wash them after. And we can set aside packages and groceries for a few days to let the contamination fade. So that's some things we can do. Like we said before, the virus lives on surfaces for a specific amount of time.
Right.
So leaving things for the virus to fade away and to die off is another way to keep safe. So I did want to show you just a little overview here. There are a lot of resources that show us how we can shop smart and protect ourselves. So this one, if anyone would like this printed out, I can do that. But for now, we'll just look at it. It says plan ahead, so get that grocery list going so you're not in the store for 5 hours. Don't shop when you're sick, so that's
Oh, yeah.
rule number 1, right? If you feel
Yeah.
any symptoms, you stay home.
Yeah.
Protect yourself and
Where,
others.
where do I find this little list?
Sorry?
That's okay.
Okay, and so 1 person per family, so we're reducing the number of people in the store, making more space for everyone else. And touching only what you take only what you need, so you don't need to prepare for the world ending, right? We don't need 10 boxes of toilet paper,
No.
right? We need enough to last the 2
It
weeks.
happened one time.
Yeah, it did happen.
Yeah, it
At the
happened
beginning of all.
one time.
Yeah, it's true.
A person went to Costco and put
They buy it all out, it was
Uh,
amazing.
50 or 60 packs of paper toilet, and then next day you bring it back. Some
That
people say
happens.
no,
Yeah,
no.
then you have to sell it back after.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely been happening.
Yeah, it happened.
It's important to know that it's not necessary,
No.
right?
No.
We're not having a shortage of toilet paper. It's a pandemic, but nothing like that is happening.
Yeah.
So making sure to wash up, so sanitizing, washing your hands is best with soap, 20 seconds. Giving people
More
space. So again, contactless payment, so tapping, packing your bags yourself when you're able. Respecting those hours, which again, you are also allowed to go.
You already had. You have
Always washing your reusable bags. So just kind of an overview, finding all those tips in one place I thought was helpful.
The only place I know about the seniors to come in at a certain hour is London Drugs, Sacred Town Shopping Center.
Oh,
They have something set up that you come in at a certain time in the morning for seniors.
Yep.
And then Rexall Drugstore across the street from the area, I think they have that on a Tuesday or something.
yes.
That you come in first thing in the morning.
If you'd like, I can give you a list of all the stores
Oh,
that.
that'd be great.
Yeah, because a lot of stores are actually allowing a shopping hour specifically for older adults and persons with disabilities.
Oh, and I'd be interested in shopping tips too.
Okay,
Nice.
I usually like first, I
Oh,
don't know.
sorry?
Yeah.
That's the only one that's the morning.
It's first thing in the morning, yeah, usually.
That's where they're going
But
like that.
If it's safe, I mean, if you wanna wake up and make sure that you're staying safe and doing your grocery shopping when that's okay, then you gotta make what's the choices that's best for you, right?
I'm sure.
Yes, so now we're going to talk about how to reduce your risk while unpacking the groceries. So it's one thing to shop in the store for groceries, but it's another thing to take those home and to put them on
Yeah,
your
to-
shelves,
First
right?
thing you have to wash the fruit, you have to wash the
Yes.
salad,
Yes,
the salt, everything, that's
wash
wash.
everything, yeah, so, and even doing things like throwing out the paper and plastic
Yeah.
bags that were used from the store, you can use your own reusable ones and clean them, which would be another good alternative. But making sure you take things out of the box they come in and throwing that away, because like we know, the virus can harbor and sit on those surfaces. Making sure we wipe containers and making sure we wash our produce, like Robert helpfully
Sure.
suggested, yes.
So you suggest you wash your produce, actually wash your
There
produce.
are specific ways to wash your produce. You don't
Lots of
wash it.
soap.
You
Put
don't
lots
wash
of
it with soap actually. No soap, no
No soap.
disinfectants. No, because those can actually cause stomach problems for
Oh,
you.
okay.
That's according to the FDA, which I read. So you wash it with warm water.
Oh.
We'll get into that again later,
What about the soap that you can buy that says on there?
but. Oh, produce soap. Yes, you can also use that. As long as it's specifically for, fruits and vegetables. It's a produce soap that you can use to wash your
It's
vegetables.
usually in the vegetable.
That will work
section.
too. That's a great suggestion.
Just like on some metal.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people are worried about if they're okay getting takeout.
Yeah.
And yes, it is okay. So it's just that you have to take those same precautions as when you put away your groceries. So some precautions that we found were washing the packaging and the containers, and you can toss it or recycle it. Making sure that you place them in your own clean dishes and storing them properly after. And remembering social distancing when the driver or the delivery person comes to drop off your food. And making sure to sanitize things like the doorknob or whatever.
Yes.
Social distancing, Ellen, you got it.
And when you say sterilizing, I guess one could also use like vinegar and water.
Yes, there are ways to make your
bleach
own.
water.
Yes,
And
make your own.
own and clean up.
Just soap. Just
Just
spray of soap.
So,
vinegar is good, better.
Okay.
so
No, no,
has
no.
anyone gone to a restaurant during the pandemic?
I have.
Yeah.
I went to a Chinese buffet, I went to the buffet.
Oh, really?
In Phillips, and what they said was they treat you like you're in a cafeteria.
Oh,
So where the
they
food
serve
is to the buffet, it's all partitioned with that plexiglass, that plastic. I liked it actually, I found it very comforting, I wasn't threatened. And you just told them what you wanted out of whatever compartment, and she filled up your plate. I couldn't eat a lot, but I ate just what I had on my plate.
right.
And they do that for your soup, your main course, your vegetables, your salad and all that. And you just take it to your table.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That sounds,
that's buffet
That's
style.
that's actually nice.
Yeah.
Russell, you said that you went out to dine in
Like
at a
going to
restaurant.
school.
How was that?
And when they go to the cafeteria,
Yeah.
it's cool. That's what it's like, that's what it's like, Jen, when you go to school, remember years ago when they used to give you slop, they put it on your.
Oh,
But they didn't have the plexiglass.
Oh my God.
right. I don't know, online people, what are your experiences like?
What happened to Subway House? They wear their masks the way to.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know?
Apparently I phoned too, at Goody Goody, they do the same thing.
Oh, you can call George's on.
David and Yvette, have you gone out to a restaurant to eat during this COVID time?
Yeah, I went to the buffet square on, Phillips and Lila.
Walk away from.
But I haven't been to Goody Goody, but Goody Goody does the same thing, set up like it's a cafeteria style. So they serve you.
So there are some things that we can do to stay safe when we're going to a restaurant. So a lot of businesses have established their own physical distancing and hygienic practices to protect you guys from any illness. So some of this that they outlined was that, stay home if you feel sick. Follow all the instructions provided and make sure that you maintain that 6-foot distance when you're waiting in line, when you're inside, and even when you're in the washrooms. Another thing, when the meal is over, you can assist with physical distancing by, taking care of your own table and making sure that you place your own things at the end of the table, right? Not only are you helping your server, but you're also protecting yourself by making sure they're not getting right into you and bumping shoulders with you trying to clean up the table, right?
Okay.
You know, I noticed those at Salisbury House with your friends, and they won't, take your cup and refill it for another cup of coffee, but they'll come by your table and give you another fresh cup, like McDonald's is doing the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, so there is a lot of changes going on.
A lot of changes, but they're sanitary and they're safe, so it's a kind of a good thing.
And all the waiters are wearing masks at Subway House.
Yes, they wear a mask, so that's good too.
Speaking of coffee, I hope the restaurant's here, because the restaurant in High School is an issue.
They use a black mask.
But now we're going to talk about washing, because we had some questions about that. So you always want to wash all your surfaces for your food preparation, so that means counters, cutting boards, your sink, anything you use to really prepare your food, right? And you want to wash your hands too, before and after you handle food, for at least 20 to 30 seconds with soap.
3 seconds. Oh,
20 to
man.
30.
I was told, sing happy birthday.
Yes, sing happy birthday.
Sing happy
No,
birthday.
When you're washing your hands, that's enough time to
Right.
wash your hands.
Right. So how do you clean your produce? With warm water. So it says don't use any cleaners, disinfectants, or dish soap. So unless you're using the produce soap, like Linda said, but all you need to really clean your
Put some
produce is
Jet-X
the warm
on
water.
it.
So it'd be like
Lots of
ketchup
Jet-X.
and be hot
Yeah,
and
that's
cold
good.
right
Yeah, that's good.
You can use soap.
You can
Soap
use
to wash them.
Irish soap.
I don't even want to use soap on your broccoli and cauliflower and all that stuff.
And eat it. It tastes good.
So we are going to talk a little bit about avoiding foodborne illness. So you'll want to run your fruits and vegetables under warm water. And when you're unpacking, make
Can't
sure
be,
you
sorry to say
refrigerate
that,
or freeze
but
those
can't be-
items, like meats, produce, or whatever needs to be frozen within 2 hours.
Can't be cold water. Has to be warm, right?
Warm water.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Oh.
That's what the FDA says. I'm not an expert, but that's what I've read from doing my research from those who
I can't completely, sorry, I can't completely pour water.
No, that's okay.
I'm gonna
just
change your methods.
what I've read.
Oh.
So making sure to clean and sanitize your counters and keeping in mind those food safety basics. So we're gonna talk about those. It's clean, separate, cook, and chill. So that's what they're asking.
Chill.
Chill.
All right.
It's a great cooking.
So, cleaning. That's the first step. Wash your hands, the cutting boards, any counters, the dishes, utensils with hot soapy water, and making sure you clean the lids when you're using canned goods. And then it's separating. So separating your raw meats from any other foods. So any raw meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, separating that from or any other foods in your meal prep. Using one cutting board for fresh produce and then one for those raw meats and poultry and seafood. And not putting cooked food on a plate that has previously had raw meat. So avoiding that cross-contamination with those things.
Is that pretty much in general before COVID?
That's general before COVID. Yes, this is general food safety basics before COVID. But important to make sure we're still doing
Oh,
during.
Like implementing them.
Yes, yes. So just kind of emphasizing what we should be doing anyways. So cooking, making sure you cook it to the right temperature. So those color and texture, making sure that we know when it's safe to eat. You could also use a food thermometer.
That's good.
And it also recommended bringing liquids that like sauces and soups and gravy to a boil when you're reheating it. And then we also have chilling. So refrigerating foods promptly. So whenever you can, as soon as you can. So we'll go to the next slide here. This is another useful do and don't of food prep. Up here. Do's and don'ts. So this is food safe meal prep. This is from the Food and Drug Administration. So do wash your hands with soap and water. And don't wash meat, or poultry or seafood or eggs.
That's crazy.
That's crazy?
Yeah.
Some people might do it. But it's good to know that we have these instructions to tell us, right? So do rinse
Does that
your,
mean with soap?
Your eggs?
yeah, with soap.
Okay.
With
Do-
eggs?
Do rinse your fruits and vegetables and dry them. Do not use soap or detergent on foods. That is very dangerous and it's poison. Don't recommend. Do wash your utensils. Don't let it touch any raw foods.
Yeah. Like chicken?
Do clean cooking surfaces and utensils with hot soapy water after each use. And it says don't reuse plates or cutting boards that have touched uncooked meats unless you've washed them first. So we have another one, do cook meat to a safe internal temperature. And it says don't serve it without checking the
Chicken what?
the temperature.
Oh, temperature.
Yeah. So again, we have another one relating to temperature. Make sure it's warm between cooking and serving. Don't allow it to cool before refrigerating. So that means when food cools, right, it's able to harbor more bacteria. So I think that's why it's that. And that one's just related to the US. But those are some helpful do's and don'ts for food prep that we can remember.
Well, that's just common sense.
And common sense. I'm
Yeah.
glad that you think that,
Common
because that means you're doing it on a regular basis and that is in your routine, right? Whereas for some people, it doesn't really click for them, right? So, and that's okay. That's why we're here learning about
Common sense.
common sense.
Yeah.
Common sense is not common sense for everybody, right? Our levels of common sense are
Common
different.
sense is the sixth sense.
All I was saying, wish we added.
All right, so are there any other special risks related to food in the pandemic? There are none that have been recognized, but the important thing is to remember is that eating food is not any riskier than any number of any activities that you do on a daily basis. But it is important to take precautions and do what you can to reduce your risk. So the point is, eating food is not riskier, but we do want to do what we can to make sure that we don't get the virus or spread the virus, and make sure that we can reduce those risks.
We can beat the virus.
Yes, we can, Alan. That's a very great attitude. So are we going to run out of the food supply? So that's an interesting question, because we have a lot, like we talked about before, we have a lot of people hoarding groceries, buying a lot at one time. But the FDA reports that there are currently no long-term issues with our food supplies. So you'll be able to buy your groceries.
Just the
and
prices.
dairy, yeah, that's right. For the next week or for the next month, right? We also have some local organizations that can help you get your food in a safe way, like Winnipeg Harvest, Mamaway, and other organizations. Mamaway is an indigenous nonprofit organization located in Winnipeg that can help people with getting any necessities that they need, with anyone for menstrual products, baby supplies. They help with any type of assistance.
meals. They have
And meals.
You can get laundry done.
Almost like
They have a lot of different
Winnipeg
programs.
Harvest. It's almost like Winnipeg Harvest, right?
Yes, it's almost like Winnipeg Harvest, yes.
Jessa,
So-
I just thought of another place too.
Yeah.
That it's the Bear Clan on Selkirk. They'll
Bear Clan?
often have tons of fresh vegetables and fruit, and they'll have it open
Yeah.
for people who need it.
Yeah, I volunteer.
Yeah, there's a lot of different organizations in the
Volunteer.
city that are actually helping people during the pandemic, because a lot of our organizations, they realize that people aren't getting their money in the same way. They might need more help. They're not able to grocery shop by themselves, so they'll deliver it for people. And they're recognizing that people are having more trouble with this than ever. So we want to make sure that everyone's supported, right?
Hey, do you know if we're gonna be getting more help from the
David?
government? They give us like $100
I
bucks.
thought maybe you were gonna fan your cat with
That's
that
a
big
good
leaf,
question.
but you
I
ate
did,
it.
but
Okay.
you
I'm
just
not
went-
too sure if there's any other government assistance coming up in terms of financial.
Swiss chard.
People still have to wait, but I know that they're fighting for more long-term assistance through like the CERB. They're maybe thinking about making that more long-term, but it's hard to tell right now, right? Those things take time.
With this virus,
The Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. So that's for those who have lost their job from the pandemic or who aren't able to work. The government is providing financial assistance of $2,000 a month to help those individuals throughout this time.
I don't know, are those people that are just taking advantage of it every day?
Well, it's up to them. No comment on that. But yeah, it's up to those who apply who
What goes around comes around.
Sorry.
Right. So we were just talking about restaurants here, seeing if everyone feels safe and what your experiences were. But I did just want to highlight what could be, safety, right? What could be considered low risk to high risk dining. So the FDA says the lowest risk is when you're doing food service through drive-through or delivery or curbside pickup. So through those methods, you have a lot more control, right? You can wipe down things in your home. You can use those containers, store your own food. What is more risk is on-site dining. So when you're in the restaurants, at least having tables 6 feet away or making sure that some are closed off. And even more risk is on-site dining with both indoor and outdoor, and not having that space between tables. So yeah, it goes by risk depending on what those businesses, what those measures they're taking. So if they're enforcing social distance, if they're maybe not cleaning menus when they give it out, right? We're all finding ways to work around that. So tips for eating out when you are, this is just generally also tips for not getting sick from foodborne illnesses. You can look for certificates that show food safety training. So that's always a good sign that someone in the restaurant is trained to handle food. So that goes the same for safe food handling practices. You can look out for that. You can also avoid food that is served to you cold and ask them to reheat it or remake it for you. And you can take care of your leftovers quickly. And that is the
David?
end. Oh, sorry?
David and Yvette, have you gone out to a restaurant since COVID started?
Yes, I did.
Not
Have
really.
you, David?
Actually, that is, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Did you feel safe? Like, did you feel like it was clean and you were safe?
I think so.
Yeah, a lot of them are working to take those precautions to, they maybe shut down a few tables and they enforce the social distance